It is now. Thanks for reminding me.
Yo, I got actually a pretty fire thing for you could cover market patterns. I'm gonna actually share my screen. I'm gonna give it access to it right now.
Ooh, perfect. See, right there we have an engulfing pattern. That green shoot up was an engulfing. Intraday sauce. Scalping sauce. You ain't playing. If you guys ever need sauce, Dakota has a lot of sauce, okay?
I got all the sauce. Hello. All right. Here you go, Jesse. First pattern.
Okay. So guys, when you guys start trading, you'll notice that the market moves in three different trends, right? So what you'll notice is the market will either move on what's called an uptrend. So example, what type of trend is that right there? I mean, it's labeled right there. It says uptrend. There's a blue arrow. That means that price is just shooting up in an upward direction, right? That's all an uptrend is saying. So so these patterns in specific, what these are for are to help you find out when there's going to be some sort of reversal in the market, right? So when people ask me like, bro, like, well, how do you know exactly when to like jump in on that sell, or like how do you know when to get in? This is how. Okay, so you guys, when there's some sort of strong trend, right, for price to be reversed in an opposite direction, it's usually followed by a pattern, right? It has some sort of pattern, a reversal pattern in specific that it'll form on some time frame. Trust me, if you guys are looking that price shot up and then just shot down out of nowhere, if you go zoom in on one time frame, trust me, you'll see some sort of reversal pattern. This is one of them, a head and shoulders. Okay, so the easiest way I could explain it is if you see there's two shoulders and a head. Okay, so right there you got a little shoulder right there, you got the head at the very top, and then another shoulder. Dakota could probably like use his mouse to like show it. Let me see, can I annotate? Yes. Okay, so you'll see something very similar to this, right? You'll see price shooting up, you'll see it'll form a shoulder. Can you guys see my annotations, by the way? Dakota, can you see that?
I gave you remote control permission. You can actually move my screen and everything.
Oh, that is so cool. I've never done that. Okay. I don't do this. I don't do none of that stuff. But yeah, either way, my point being, all right, you got the shoulder, the head, the shoulder, right? And the time that you'd want to enter in on this trade is when it comes and breaks the neckline. You could jump in right then and there. But one thing that I would ask people, right? Because if you're going to jump in on a sell, you're saying that price is shooting down, right? So would you rather jump in on your sell right here? Or would you guys rather wait for a retest back up here? What makes more sense? You know, and this is going for all of the people that are on here. I mean, if you're on here, what makes more sense? Jumping in at the red circle or the blue? Chances are more than likely on the blue circle, right? Because you want to catch more pips. You want to sell from the top, not at a lower price, right? So for the most part, that's the way that I tackle my trades, right? Because like I said, for there to be some sort of strong reversal, if we're looking at GU, for example, and you guys are asking me like, hey, like, when is GU going to shoot down? You know, I noticed that it shot up this week a lot, or I noticed that NZD shot up a lot, or AU, or look for a reversal pattern. Look for a reversal pattern. I think the Euro or GU, one or the other, I have to go check. One of them formed a head and shoulders that indicated to me you want to sell it, and it shot down. What a surprise, right? So as long as you guys go ahead and remember this about Forex, you'll be pretty good. At least you'll have a better generalized idea. And the way that you guys pretty much tackle this, or the way that you guys know how long to hold your trades for, is I calculate the amount of pips that there is in distance from right here, right? So from this little line right here at the bottom where it says neckline, right? I would calculate how many pips it is from this line to the head, the high, right? The highest high. Let's say this is 50 pips. What I would do is the minute when this crosses down from my neckline, right? When I jump in on my retest right here for my sell, I'll hold this down another 50 pips, right? You'll be safe enough to at least have those amount of pips minimum, right? Chances are you'll catch a lot more usually 2 to 3 times as much, but it's a lot safer. Thanks. Cool. Oh yeah, I already just like, oh, there you go. See? So look, see? Calculate the amount of pips from your neckline to the head right here. What happens? It'll shoot down about the same distance, you know? So you're good. As long as you guys just use that, you'll be pretty solid. I don't know why I can't clear this shit. Okay. But yeah. Okay. Double tops. Double tops are pretty big, guys. If you guys don't see a Head and Shoulders forming, chances are you'll see a double top, right? So a double top is another reversal pattern, right? So we have a strong trend, like a strong uptrend to be exact, right? It's double tops are specifically just for uptrends, right? You'll notice that it'll come test a level of support. Think of support like a price floor. It's where price hits and it's supporting it up. Just remember that, right? You're gonna notice that it might come and test this high again, right? Probably a little bit lower if anything. And it's gonna usually come back and test, right? Same thing, you usually wanna wait until it breaks down below your neckline. I would usually wait for a retest, right? And then jump down. Depends on what time frame you're looking at. If you're looking at a 15-minute chart and the retest is like 5 pips, do you really wanna cry about 5 pips? That's your decision. I mean, I usually don't, but I mean, 5 pips is 5 pips. Let me see, let me erase that. Cool. So you're using the same kind of concept here if you are going to trade with it, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to calculate the amount of pips from our neckline here to the very top. Let's say that's 30 pips, right? The minute it breaks down this level under this neckline, right? When it breaks this level, when it breaks the price floor, this price floor now becomes a price ceiling, by the way. So that's why price is resisted down, right? So we call this now our resistance. So when price breaks support and now it forms as resistance, right? This was 30 pips. We're going to hold this for 30 pips, okay? You could usually do longer, but try to keep the same amount of pips in there if you're new, at least up until you could try to calculate something more for like steady and you have actual reasons why, you know? Yeah. Okay, so the Head and Shoulders uptrend. No. Okay, so the inverse Head and Shoulders or your reverse Head and Shoulders, whatever you want to call it, right? Inverted Head and Shoulders. There's multiple names. This is the same thing. It's a Head and Shoulders except upside down, right? So this is coming from a downtrend, right? Only valid if it's coming from a downtrend. Your reverse Head and Shoulders, inverted Head and Shoulders, whatever you want to call it. And it's another pattern except it reverses price upwards, right? Did anyone, if anyone was on my Zoom on Sunday when I was giving up my setups, do you guys remember the pairs? There was the majority of the pairs that I traded this week formed inverted Head and Shoulders. Can you guys name them? Let's see. If anyone was on,
Euro USD.
Yep, Euro USD. Who said that?
Gabe.
Oh, for sure. Euro USD, odd USD. No, not gold. NZD USD. I think I don't remember GBP did, but I remember Euro, odd, and NZD did. They formed beautiful inverted Head and Shoulders, shot up, right? Same kind of concept here. You're gonna wait until it crosses your neckline right here, calculate the amount of pips. I would wait for the retest, shoot up. That simple. Use this, it works, trust me. Then what happens a couple of days later when I updated it, formed a regular Head and Shoulders, right? The other one that we went over, the first one. So makes it a lot easier. Like I said, you calculate the amount of pips from your price ceiling now to the very bottom to your low. And you calculate on pips, write it up, the same amount of pips. EU, yeah, that formed a beautiful one. And a double bottom. This is what gold formed actually. It'll form a low, come from a downtrend, right? Price is shooting down. It'll come test a level of resistance, which is a price ceiling, resisting it down. It'll come, usually test again, break above, usually retest, and shoot up. Okay. What's good, Arnie? I'm glad you can make it. I'm just going over reversal patterns. I'm going to show you guys a bunch of these reversal patterns too, by the way. I just wanted to have you guys write these down, remember them, soak them in, look for them. If you guys see any on any of any pairs that you guys trade, post them on the chats. I want you guys to get familiar with posting them. I'll show you some of the ones that I see usually. There's always some sort of reversal pattern you could see on any of the currency pairs that you guys trade. So trust me, if you look for them, you will find them. Okay. Usually the bigger the time frame, the better they work. I usually say the more pips you can catch. But yeah, for the most part, they're my favorite things to trade. Patterns are really simple. That's what I started trading when I was new. I started off with patterns and I loved it. Cool. But yeah, same thing. Calculate the amount of pips from the top to the bottom. Hold it up. Okay. Should I go over wedges, you think?
Yes.
Yeah, we're covering all of them. I'm bringing the whole juice.
All right, then you guys get ready for more. Okay, so wedges. Whew, I love me some wedges. Okay, so this one is called a bearish wedge, or a lot of people call this falling wedge. So it depends on whatever you want to call it. Honestly, bearish wedge is fine. So essentially, what this is doing, so you're gonna have to help me with this, Dakota. Lower lows followed by lower highs. Okay, so essentially, I just hate saying those words. So essentially, what you're gonna want to look for is you're gonna want to look for these highs to be forming a lot lower than these lower lows are. You could tell like the trend line on this.
Top line is more steeper than the bottom line. The bottom line is more like horizontal, and the top line is more like diagonal, guys.
Yeah, what he said. That's what you want to look for, pretty much. So with the wedge in specific, yeah, that's what I pretty much look for. We're looking for a bearish wedge. I just look for the higher lows to be forming a lot lower than the lower lows. It seems like they're kind of just like not really. They look kind of like they're consolidating in a sense. The market's not really doing much. Essentially, with this one, with the bearish wedge. Okay, hold on. Bottom of right. Okay.
You're going to go the trend continuation or reversal?
Yeah, so are we going over reversals with the wedges, or?
Yeah, so for a bearish wedge, when it's in a downtrend, it's a continuation signal, okay? And then if it's in an uptrend, then it'll be a reversal signal. Or no, is that reversed? It's in the downtrend.
I think if it's a bearish, it should be going reverse, right?
Yeah, there it is.
Okay. All right, just making sure, because with the wedges, the one thing you guys got to be careful with this is that wedges can be either reversal patterns or continuation patterns. So this will either reverse the trend of the market or it'll continue the actual trend, right? So what I usually do is, like I said, if this is coming from a specific direction, so let's say, like, for example here, price is shooting down and it's forming some sort of wedge, right? What this will do is it'll reverse the pattern on an upward kind of direction, right? So it's the same kind of concept, guys, as we were going with the double bottoms. Essentially, I usually just wait for a retest and I would ride this all the way up, right? Now, the way that you guys calculate the amount of pips, kind of like what's shown here, is I usually calculate the amount of pips from this, where the high was formed, right, to this lowest low. So if that's like 20 pips, I'll hold this when it breaks my neckline right here, 20 pips, right? Sound good? So remember, with the bearish wedge, if price is coming downward, it's going to reverse it up, okay? Wedges are pretty simple, but like I said, this will also continue a trend, right? So let's say you're looking at an uptrend. Let's say, so you could write down, if you write down bearish wedge, write reversal, right under that, write continuation, because I'll show you what a continuation looks like. So that would be this here, right? Price shoots up, it forms a price ceiling, right? So it hits resistance, right? It kind of forms the same kind of wedge. The only difference is, remember, and the one thing about a bearish wedge, it's weird, but that's why they call them falling wedges. It's the inverse of that. It's not like it's going to be a sell. You don't want to buy, okay? You want to look for buys here. So bearish wedge, you're looking for a buy. So you want to look for the same thing. You want to look for the highs to be formed, you want higher lows to be formed, and your lower lows to kind of stay leveled in a sense, or kind of like not moving as much. You want to look for this big slant on the upside, essentially. And what you want to wait for is the same thing for a continuation. You want to see it kind of struggle, form this bearish wedge kind of pattern, break out, retest, shoot up. What
It
I
doesn't use retest though. You could also trade the breakouts because Gabe also asked if you would wait for a retest. There's sometimes where it breaks structure. As long as it breaks the pattern, you're still valid to get in. If you guys did miss it, that's when you would wait for the retest because not all the time is it going to retest.
the only time I would want to retest, yeah, same thing. I would look at how many pips you're looking at. So if you guys catch it right at the breakout, you should be fine because essentially, let's say you guys catch it right here, right? Well, if you notice, if you catch it right here when it breaks resistance, I wouldn't wait for this retest right here, you know, only because you're not really missing out on any pips. It'll be like a micro. I'm saying if you're like up here and you're like, hey, I want to sell, or I mean, I want to buy, I want to buy, I want to buy, I would look to see if it has any chance of it trying to retest first, just so you guys don't get any pullback. But like I said, if you guys are catching bigger time frames of these patterns, you'll be fine. Just try to catch it right at the breakout and you'll be good. Put it like maybe like a couple pips above your price floor. That's what I would usually do, and you'll be fine. But yeah, only try to look for retests if, like Dakota said, if you miss out on the move.
But to summarize this really quick, guys, in case you guys didn't catch when I first said it, when the bearish wedge is downtrending, it will indicate a reversal. Okay, so if it's downtrending and it has to reverse, it's going to start going up after the bearish wedge. Okay, if it's in an uptrend, as you guys like Jesse saw here, and you see the bearish wedge, it will continue to go up, which is why it's called continuation. So just in case you guys missed that the first time when I said it, we're going to go on to the next pattern. Okay, who else is annotating?
That wasn't me this time.
All right, Bennett.
Oh crap, I can't annotate anymore.
You can't? All right, hold on.
I did something.
Try now.
Okay, I guess I'll just kind of explain it. I don't know what the hell I did. Okay, so pennants are pretty interesting. I like pennants because these are more, like I said, usually what you'll notice about the markets is they'll form what I call the ladder effect, right? So you'll notice that, example, price will break out, it'll form some sort of like pattern, it'll break out again, form some sort of consolidating pattern or something, and break out, okay? So this is when you kind of figure out when price is going to continue to do its next move, right? It's going to form that kind of ladder effect that I call, right? So a pennant is one of those that we look for. Essentially what we look for with a pennant is, like I said, if you see a big breakout on the downside, like that's displayed here, right? What you'd want to look for is like, it's shown like a small little like pennant looking thing, looks kind of like a beak, whatever you kind of want to look at it as. Yeah, you want to look specifically for something like that. Draw the pattern if you need to. The one thing I would do with the pennants, where I honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really trade these as much. It depends on the pairs that you're looking at. Whatever currency pairs that you guys trade, some patterns are more likely to be seen on specific pairs in comparison to others, right? So I'll see a lot of pennants, I'm not gonna lie. I trade them, but I just don't trade them as much as I would reversals because usually those happens a lot. But yeah, pennants are continuation patterns, so make sure you put this under the continuation category. It's not a reversal, right? Those are completely different things. But you look for a big breakout, right? You see the little beak forming, or a pennant like they call it, right? Calculate the amount of pips from the breakout that formed, right? And then trade that, or you hold it on the way down, right? Just like that's, yeah. And that's your little ladder effect right there. And that's how you would trade that. They're really good if you guys are going to go ahead and if you guys miss a breakout, this is how you write the next one. Okay? So don't ever chase a move. Wait for the next one to form. Bullish pennant. So this is the same thing. It's the same kind of concept, except the only difference is going on the upside, right? So you want to look for some shoot up, right? Let's say you guys missed out on the buys earlier this week. If price continues to go up, one thing you'd want to look for is if we were to form this kind of beak looking thing, a little pennant as they call it, right? You calculate the amount of breakout that formed and you just hold that on the way up. It's really good to continue catching like pips on the way up. So use them for continuations. This is how you guys catch those moves, right? Okay, so triangles, man. Triangles are interesting. I love triangles because this is going to be one of the most common. This is a continuation pattern, by the way. But with triangles, these are one of the most common patterns you guys will see. Honestly, I had one when I was new. My friend Daniel and we were trading triangles all the time. Mainly him. I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't really as good as trading triangles as he was. I think a lot of you guys know Daniel, right? Daniel Mesa. Everyone should know him. He's a beast. He was making like $600 like every other day or every day off of just triangles. So guys, triangles work. So essentially what you want to look for is you kind of want to see, hold on, how do I annotate on here? I want to draw. Um, hmm. Okay, well, I'll show you guys later. But essentially, my point with triangles, we'll look at a couple of them. What you want to look for is some sort of consolidating market, right? So let's say we see a huge breakout on the upside or the downside, doesn't matter. And we see that price kind of forms like in the longer term, like a little triangle kind of shape, right? You notice that there's lows that it reaches, right? And you notice that there's highs, and it'll kind of like consolidate to like this little triangle kind of shape. A triangle will pretty much show you when price is about to break up either to the upside or the downside. You don't really know what side. You kind of want to watch out to see what it's going to do, right? So essentially the way that you guys trade this is you see where it breaks out, right? So when you draw your triangle, right? Let's say price shoots and breaks up on the upside, you want to write it up, right? Let's say price shoots down on the downside, you want to write it down, right? Same kind of, there you go. Yeah, Dakota's doing it right there. Let's say price like right there broke above, you'd want to hold it on the way up, right? Or if it breaks on the downside, you want to hold it on the way down. Same kind of concept. You can calculate the pips from the high to the low, and you just migrate that on whatever direction it breaks out on, right? The one thing I will say about triangles though is you guys need to be careful for what we call a fake out breakout, right? So sometimes what price will do is it will go ahead and let's say does break out on the upside. What it'll do sometimes it'll break up to the upside and it's going to shoot the opposite direction. So the way that you guys avoid getting hurt with this is the middle of your triangle right there, right dab in the middle is your stop loss, okay? Right dead center, okay? That is your stop loss, and that's how you avoid losing money or a lot of money on a triangle. So let's say price does shoot up above and it fakes you out and it hits your stop. What I would do personally is I would double up my lot size and write it down just to the next price floor, to the next level of support, right? That's what I would do though. That's how I've went ahead, and when I did get faked out with this when I was new, I was so upset. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, you really are gonna try to fake me out? Like that's disrespectful. And what happened? I just doubled up my lot, wrote it down, and I made my money back. I made more. But essentially, with triangles, that's what I would do. Remember, the middle is your stop loss, and you would want to write it in whatever direction it breaks out on. And yep, write it on the other direction. hmm Just use a trailing stop loss. Move your stop loss and profit as it goes. Honestly, that's how you avoid it too. Just do that. That's what I always do. Okay, so descending triangles, right? So you'll usually have there's a lot of different types of triangles. Not a lot, there's a couple, but essentially what you want to look for with the descending triangle is you'll know it's the same kind of concept with the triangle, except the bottom level is not like slanted up, it's just flat. It looks kind of like, what do they call those in like high school or whatever, like a right triangle or something like that, I don't know. But you want it to get like a flat level of support, and you want to get a descending kind of triangle. Kind of looks like a wedge in a sense, right? Except this is like a flat level of support. There's no like slant whatsoever. It's straight flat. Okay, so what you want to look for with the descending triangle is you want to look for a breakout on the upside, okay? Because what you're going to notice is that price is really, really supported at that level of support. If not, it wouldn't just be respecting it time after time after time again, right? So chances are if it's respected it 1, 2, 3, 4 times, it's going to probably respect it the fourth when it taps it. Going to look for that breakout, calculate the amount of pips, write it up, okay? Descending triangles are pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie, because they're a level, they're strong levels of support followed by a level of resistance being broken. That's a pretty good setup right there, I'm not gonna lie. Yep, you wait for the breakout, write it up. If you miss the breakout, look for a retest. If it doesn't give you one, don't chase a move, and you're good. Try and make money off of these triangles. And then I believe that's okay, an ascending triangle. Yeah, so an ascending triangle is the same thing except the inverse, right? So a strong level of resistance on the top, right? Price is being resisted down. Um, what you're gonna notice is that it's gonna come and test it a couple of times. You're gonna notice, if you guys notice the bottom part, like the bottom line, the bottom trend line up there, if you notice, that's also a trend line in a sense, right? So what do we know about when price breaks a trend line? Breakouts, right? That's why we look for when it breaks out, when it hits that, you want to catch that wave, and that's how you do it. Ascending triangles, essentially, it's just a breakout. It's following a trend, breaks it, you write it up, or in this case, you write it down. But yeah, exactly. Like Dakota's doing, you just catch the breakout, you calculate the amount of pips from the lowest low, highest high, write it down the same amount of pips. Do this until you guys get comfortable catching bigger take profits that you can actually calculate, and I'll show you different ways later on. But yeah, these triangles are key. Rising wedge. Okay, so rising wedge is the same thing as like the bearish wedge or falling wedge, except the only difference is it's the inverse, right? So with the rising wedge, you guys want to keep an eye out for sells. It's confusing in a sense. I know a lot of people are like, well, if it's rising, why won't it go to, I don't know, don't ask me, I don't make up the names. But essentially these are reversals and continuations, right? So this can reverse the trend of any market, or it could continue a trend, right? In this case, what you're going to want to look for with the rising wedge, it's coming from an uptrend, you're going to want to look for it to shoot down, right? So you're going to notice that the lows, oh my gosh, Dakota, we need help. We have higher lows forming. Okay, so the lows are forming higher than the previous ones, and then notice the higher highs are kind of just like barely moving, like they're barely slanted up, kind of like how Dakota's circling. And the higher highs right there are not really there's not much space or difference from one to another, they're kind of just close together. You try to wait for the next breakout to happen on the downside, write it down, calculate the amount of pips, and you're good, and it's going to reverse the trend of the market for you, okay? Okay, so essentially when you're
Some actual examples. See, this is what it looks like when it breaks out.
Perfect. On a downtrend, right? So let's say price did shoot down and it's doing its ladder effect, right? Oh my gosh, GU shot down. How the hell do I know how to catch the next shoot down? This is how, right? So what you want to look for is some sort of continuation pattern. Let's say it forms, right? Every low is forming higher than the previous one, but you notice the highs are really not like that spaced out from each other. They're kind of close together. That's a rising wedge, okay? And you'd want to look for the same thing. You'd want to look for a breakout on the downside, write it down, calculate the amount of pips, and that's how many pips you're trying to catch. But yeah, rising wedges are pretty cool. I love wedges. They're my favorite ones, honestly. I don't know, I've never really had bad luck with them. Okay, rectangles. Rectangles are really simple, guys. Honestly, rectangles, you're going to see these a lot. Rectangles are just literally, if you look at a market, you could literally just put a rectangle right there where price is at. You get a level of support, resistance, and there you go, right? So these are mainly more common in, let's say we're looking at the ladder effect, right? Price shoots up on the upside and it starts to consolidate. If you could put a rectangle over it, chances are it's a rectangle, right? So what you want to look for is you want to look for a breakout either on the upside or the downside. It doesn't really matter. And you calculate the amount of pips from your support to resistance, and you're good. That's how you guys trade a rectangle. Let's say in this example, price breaks up above resistance, and there was 50 pips in the middle from these highs to the lows. You're gonna write it 50 pips up, right? Or if price were to have shot down, right? You'd want to write it down 50 pips if it were to break down on the downside, right? If you were to break that level of support, you want to hold it down 50 pips. So rectangles are simple patterns. You'll see these a lot. I usually like rectangles. They're some of my favorite ones. If you guys don't like trading consolidating markets, then use rectangles. Yeah, and you have all sorts of rectangles. You have your bullish rectangles, bearish rectangles, same thing. We already covered that essentially. And that's about all we got with rectangles. So I'm going to start sharing my screen and I'm going to start showing you guys patterns now, okay? So essentially, guys, if for all of you guys on here, actually, I kind of want to see where you're at. Can you guys type exactly how new you are to Forex? Have you guys ever done this before? Are you guys familiar with patterns? Do you guys already trade? Do you guys know basics already? Where are you guys at? I kind of need to know where everyone's at so I could know how to like speak to everyone. Just go ahead and type it in the chat. Like, hey, like this is my first time trading. Hey, this is my first time on learning about Forex or hearing about it, or let me know where you guys are at, if you don't mind. I mean, I doubt everybody's on Dakota Night level, so I can chart on my own, but still need to get better at patterns. Okay, all right, I love it. Cool. My first time learning. Okay, I'm new to patterns. Oh my gosh, dude, patterns are key. Okay, minor. We'll definitely start training a little bit more one-on-one. Same. I'm new to patterns. Okay, cool. So I have a general idea now as to where everyone's at. So if this is your first time learning, what I would recommend, I'll probably have I need to get better on patterns as well. Okay. I'll probably have some sort of training on basics for the new people, probably like within the next couple days. I'll go over like pips, minor to kind of catch you up. Essentially, this is the market right here, right? This is what price actually does. It moves kind of like this. So for everyone that's new, especially for those people that maybe didn't want to like talk, it's okay. I don't bite though, I promise. You'll notice that the market moves in one of three ways, right? You'll notice that price will either move on what we call a downtrend, right? So price is trending downward. You'll notice that price will either move on what we call an uptrend, right? Price is trending upward. Or you'll notice, like with the rectangle, for example, price consolidates, right? These are three type of trends, right? So example, here, can anyone type what kind of pattern this is right here? I mean, this is like a pretty bad one because of this one here. Here, let's go with this right here. What kind of pattern is this? We just went over this one. Learning patterns intermediate, but I understand patterns a lot more now. Cool. All right, does anyone know what kind of pattern this is? Type this in the chat if you do. A rectangle, perfect, right? What happened? You had your price ceiling, price floor, price ceiling, broke down on the downside, right? So what would we do? We'd go here. Price gave us about 65 pips. The minute it broke through, did it give us 65 pips? Should have gave us 106. You see? So just by this pattern alone, you're good, right? So we're gonna look for some patterns now. Let's go with the pair that I don't trade. Okay, give me an NZD pair or a CAD pair. There we go. How funny, NZD CAD. I know, huh? Two pairs I don't trade, NZD and CAD. Let me remove all this nonsense. I don't know. Don't let this confuse you. I don't trade this. Okay, first and foremost, I'm looking at a pattern right here. Does anyone know what the name of this pattern is? Let me kind of highlight this to make it a little bit more known. Does anyone see this pattern right here? Can anyone name this for me? Inverted head and shoulders. Yep, that's what it is. Yep, literally, right? So how would we go ahead and trade this? Well, this is what I would have looked for, right? Shoulder, head, shoulder, right? What I would have done is I would have waited for a retest. So I would have drawn a line right through it. We zoom in. This is what I mean, wait for a retest, right? So let me ask you guys something, just so you guys don't think I'm like crazy. This is actually still kind of forming it. So would you guys rather jump in on your buys right up here, right? Or would you guys rather jump in on your buys down here? You know, doesn't sound like a crazy, like, I mean, it doesn't sound like it's a lot. I mean, if you guys want to hold a 25 pip pullback, but I'd rather have 25 more pips in my account, right? Let's see. Are we just looking for the candle to completely break out and form above or below? I usually, the way that I trade this is when it breaks above this level of resistance. For example, if I could just draw a line like right here, what I would look for is the next candle closure to be formed above my little white line, right? So now I know that price is going to go on the upside. Essentially what happened here, let's say you guys would have traded this. This is about 120 pips. We would have held this up, you'd be up 83, you know? I think price for the most part is going to keep on going up and give you another price or another retest, right? So this is reversing the trend of the market, right? Price is trending downward, right? Struggling to continue going downward. It's not reversing up, right? Essentially what you could do is just trade this to the next level of resistance. I would say possibly about right there. What we know about price in general is that it always will come in. Price is always in between a level of support and resistance. Price is always moving from one level of support to resistance. It's just what it does. So essentially when it breaks past this level of resistance, now this becomes support. That's why here, even though it does look like it's in the form under, it's resisted upwards, right? Or it's supported upwards. Good night, guys. I have a football game tomorrow. Wish me luck. Bro, you're gonna kill it. We already know. But yeah, it was good having you on here, bro. You're gonna kill it. Cool. So essentially what we want to look for with these trend reversals is, like I said, I usually wait for the next candle closures to be above, right? I don't really trade this pair, but the first thing I could tell you is that this trend reversal is indicating that price is going to go on the upside, right? Trend reversals are the easiest way for you guys to go ahead and play it a little bit safer, especially the pairs that you guys are a little bit foreign in. It lets you kind of see how price moves a lot more. That's what I usually do. And I usually look for them on bigger time frames. It's not like you're only in tail to watch them on bigger time frames, right? You can though. Watch. Let's see if we could find one on, let's say, for example, the week chart, right? Oh god, this was like the worst pair to pick for like the week chart. Mainly because all it does is consolidate. Either way, right? Higher high.
Go on Euro USD weekly.
Head and shoulders. I already see it.
Yeah.
All right. So this is one of my favorite pairs, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I really do like this pair. It's like my favorite pair. So if you're like me, honestly, if you want a good pair that moves well, I usually look for this one, right? I've been calling this out. I think all of you guys that like have been trading with me for some time have seen me call this out for some time. I don't know if you guys have. I just called this out the other day. This head and shoulders is really sexy. What did I tell you guys to do? I told y'all that this was going to be shooting down. I straight up said it. What happened? If we zoom in, formed under a white line right here. It means that price is an issue down, right? But what do I tell you guys? If you guys missed this move, it's okay. What is it going to do? It's going to retest, right? Now you guys see, right? Where is price going? It's going straight to hell. It's going down here. This is a really freaking good head and shoulders right here, right? How did you know, Jesse, that price was going up the other day? Look, if y'all think I'm tripping, I'm not. I called this out right here on Sunday. I told y'all to take this buy. I even gave y'all call levels. I told y'all if it hits this call level, which it did, we buy in. And when it formed this inverted head and shoulders, price shot up, right? Well, how do you know if price is going to continue downward? Well, you want to look for some sort of reversal pattern. This is what I was saying right now, right? So the reason why I think the euro is going to shoot down because of this here. Shoulder, formed a double top right there, which is another trend reversal. This is like a little gay one, but my point being, there's two different patterns I see here. Head and shoulders, that still needs some more completing to do. And I see a double top, okay? So as much as price wants to go on the upside right now, as much as it looks like it, don't get it twisted. Don't let this confuse you. Price, for the most part, is definitely going to want to make its way down. It's making its way downtown, like really fast with this. Yeah, it's going straight to hell, dude. I'm telling you. But if you notice, right, shoulder, head, shoulder, shoot down, right? Or if you want to look at the double top, as long as it doesn't form above this line, if you notice, this is my weekly trend line or my weekly resistance, right? Price is already starting to get rejected at that level right there. We zoom in. As we speak right now, look at this long wick. Price cannot seem to form above it for some reason. If it does form above it, that's something that we want to go ahead and that's market mover manipulation and stop loss hunts. Yeah, dude, the brokers are definitely in the banks. What they're trying to do is confuse everybody. Oh yeah, for everybody thinking that you guys are going to sell, let's go ahead and confuse you guys, right? So that you guys can go ahead and buy. Why do the banks want you guys to buy? Because they're about to rape everybody's wallets that are in buys, essentially. But don't get it twisted. They're not going to confuse me, at least. I think a lot of you in here, Lucas, you seem like you wouldn't get faked out by this, huh? You're a really smart guy. Yeah, so you're like, I wouldn't do that. But yeah, I would keep an eye out. Where do you set your stop loss on a Head and Shoulders? I missed that part. And take profit. Okay. So if you guys ever want a stop loss, right, the one thing that I always recommend is let's say we're looking at a sell, right? We're thinking like right now, we're saying that price is going to shoot down, right? I look for the previous high that is formed. So example, the last high that was formed was right here, right? So I'll probably go a little bit more above it. It'd go like right there just in case the brokers try to stop loss hunt, you know? And what I would do is my stop loss would be formed a couple pips above the previous high, right? Because example, if this is going on a downtrend, what do we know about a downtrend? A downtrend is followed by what? Lower lows. Hold on, I want a color that pops on my screen. A downtrend is what? Lower lows, right? Lower lows, right? Lower low, right? Followed by lower highs, right? The highs are forming lower. So if this were to continue a downtrend, let's say hypothetically the euro were to do something like this. Let's say instead of this wanting to go downward, right? This is how you know this is not going to go on a downtrend anymore, right? Let's say the euro decides to do something like this. Would this still be a downtrend? Hell no, it won't, right? Because is the low lower at this point? No, the next low that formed was up here. Is the high lower than the previous one? No, the previous high was here. Now it's up here. That is not a downtrend, right? So as long as you guys just remember that just the trend in general needs to follow what? Lower lows, right? You're good, right? The lows need to form lower than each other. The highs need to form under each other or lower than each other, right? Same thing on an uptrend, right? The same way that you know that this is an uptrend is when you have higher highs formed by higher lows, right? Higher high. This low formed higher than this previous low down here, right? Higher high. This low right here was formed higher than this low down here, right? And how did you know that the trend was going to reverse, right? Higher high, lower low, right? All right, it didn't form a higher high. That should be one big red flag. The higher, oh yeah, it actually did wake it up here. It did not form a higher high at this point, right? The high was right here. This is a big red flag that you want to like look to close out your buys pretty soon, right? And then what happened? This low is down here. So for all of these people that probably didn't have a stop loss for their buys, they're dumb. I'm not gonna lie, because now they lost more pips, right? Now this low that was formed down here, This is not an uptrend. So all these people that are still thinking euro's a buy, y'all crazy. This doesn't look like any kind of uptrend that I've ever seen in my life. Please teach me. I've never seen anything like that. But my point being, as long as you guys just remember that concept on what an uptrend and a downtrend is, you'll be good. So just remember your stop loss is always I always base it off of my previous higher low, right? Did that kind of answer your question, Arnie? And then your take profit, place it above, yeah. Yeah, the trend is your friend. Tell me about it. Yeah, as long as it respects the trend, you're good. And your take profit, honestly, is just the previous level or the next level of support. So if you never know where to put your your take profit, look at support, right? So I put mine, if you didn't know where the hell to put your take profit to, I would just put it down here. Level of support, right? Level of resistance, just trade from support to resistance. You know it's going to test it anyways, right? So at this point, if we didn't know where the hell to trade this to, would you guys be okay with 42 pips? It doesn't sound that bad, you know? It'll probably form a lower low. The way that you do it, this is a little bit more advanced. I would base it off of a fib, you know? I'd base it off of a fib somewhere down here, but I'm not going to get into that, you know? But essentially, if you guys just look at the next level of support, you're good. That's what I used to do when I was doing. I didn't know where the hell I was going to hold my trades to. As long as I knew that there was a support right under, I'm good. Or on the buy, for example, we'd want to look for the next level of resistance, right? So that's the way that I would target it. Previous market structure is key for stop losses. Yeah, that's honestly, and even for take profits too. If you don't know where to go, don't worry. Use previous market structure, right? But let's see. Let's look at a smaller time frame too, so I could show you guys some more trend reversals. Double bottom. Oh, okay, we just went over this one too. Okay. Does anyone know the name of this one here? Can anyone name this pattern? Hashtag name this pattern. Yep. Well, yeah, falling wedge. Let's see. Coming from an uptrend, right? Coming from an uptrend, right? The lows are kind of, the highs are really tanking at this point. Honestly, this is why I just draw lines through price a lot of times, because it makes it a lot easier for me to like even see patterns like this. Just kind of follow it like that. And what happens? Forms above. The next candle forms above, right? Let's see if we would have caught our pips. This was a 30 pips worth of support to resistance. Would we have caught 30 pips? Would have caught about 50, right? So you guys would be okay with this kind of pattern. Y'all got this. You guys are naturals at this, I'm telling you. Let's look for more. This one, for example. Something like this. Right? Does anyone know this one? I literally just gave it away by the tool that I used. Let's look at the chat. Rectangle, rectangle, rectangle. Yep, literally, that's simple, right? Guys, trading is easy. When you're new, just start trading off patterns. Like until you guys get familiar with learning all of the other content and everything, literally just look at a pattern. If you guys don't feel, and this is on the 15-minute chart, you know, even if you're to look at this in terms of the hour, you could still catch a lot of big breakouts with this, right? So, example. Okay, well, these are really big tools that I used. Let's see. Continuation pattern. A little wedge, right? Rising wedge. I literally would just draw lines from as if there's support to resistance. This one formed like a little triangle wedge looking thing. Another rising wedge, right? This one, God only knows what the hell that was. Good lordy. The shapes make trading fun. Yeah, honestly, tell me about it. When I was new, I literally thought like trading would have been so that it was like so much like potions and shit that I had to read and like take to like understand this. And then when I was told like you just need to remember these patterns, I was like, oh, okay, why didn't anyone tell me this? Should have started off with it years ago. But I usually look for patterns in the past to kind of see what kind of patterns like pairs like to form. Example, this right here, inverted head and shoulders, right? If I shot up, worked. The one that we saw from the Sunday was another head and shoulders, right? Here's another head and shoulders right here, right? This is what I do with a lot of the pairs that I want to study. I start to get familiar with the patterns that they form, makes it a lot easier for me. I usually don't look at the 1 hour, but let's say you guys did. I want to show you guys triangles. Let me look for a good triangle. Let's see if you guys have any questions. When do you guys recommend entering the EU cell? Okay, well, personally, me, if I were to go ahead and look at EU, if I really, really did want to trade this, what I would look for my cell is I don't want to see it break this trend line right here, or I'd want to see it break support, right? So if it breaks this red line, I'm selling, right? Only reason why is because I'd rather play it safe. A brother ain't ever in a rush to catch no trades. Trust me. I wait for everyone that actually knows me on here. When does Jesse trade? Okay, because everybody be asking me, when do you trade? What time? Like, is there a specific time of day that you trade? I only trade when I see a setup. And what a setup is for me is when I see exactly when we see a crystal clear setup. If I don't see anything that's beautiful, like this reverse, like this inverted head and shoulder that I saw the other day, I ain't trading, okay? I'm not gonna force a trade. I'm not gonna try to catch any moves, try to force myself to see a pattern. It's just, it doesn't work well for me. If I don't see a pattern that looks crystal clear, I ain't doing it, right? One thing I would say about the euro, though, if you are going to trade this, is remember the overall trend, right? So this is a weekly chart, right? Price is getting really resisted at this point right here, right? So overall with the euro, long term, where is it going? Downward, right? So if you are going to trade the euro, I would try to stay away from counter trending, which means I would try to stay away from trying to trade it on the upside, right? And I would just remember to trade your cells. You can always draw your little triangles too. Look, resistance, support. You want to look for a breakout in either direction, right? I feel like more than likely the euro's going to shoot down. And that's what a lot of people have been calling. I'm not going to lie, the euro's my bay. I know exactly how this moves. Do you guys remember? Let's see, what was? No, this should have. I don't even know what the hell this formed. Okay, I'm going to go on a pair that I know forms a lot of freaking triangles, like this one here, UJ. Okay, so let me erase all this nonsense. Okay, UJ, right? Triangles. Do y'all remember those little fake out breakouts I was telling you about? This is a good one, right? So this is a longer term one. I need to break this down to a smaller time frame. Let's see. Let's see if there's anything on the 30. Okay, here's a good one. Here's a good one. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. UJ, for me, I've noticed the most triangles on UJ. Does anyone know this pattern, by the way? I just told you what I was trying to do anyways. But this is a triangle. Every pair favors one pattern more than others. Do you know your favorite pair's favorite, or do you know your favorite pair's favorite pattern? Yeah, you guys need to know. If you guys trade the euro, expect double tops, double bottoms, head and shoulders, right? Would we go back in time to know that? Exactly. Back test, look back, look at every time frame. I would even break it down every time frame. If you're trading one pair like UJ, try to see the patterns that will form on the weekly. Try to see the patterns that will form on the daily, on the 4 hour, on the 1 hour, on the 30-minute, on the 15, the 5, the 1, right? Go back test, try to find the patterns that it's formed below or before, and that's how you know. That's why with me, the first pattern that came to mind when I thought of triangles is UJ, because I know that whenever I traded UJ, I've usually traded triangles. It just always works for me, except for you, at least for UJ, right? Doesn't really, I don't see it as much on other pairs as much as I do UJ, right? Resistance, support, resistance, support. You see how it's forming this triangle kind of form, right? At this point, where do we know it's going to go? We wait for a breakout, right? How far do we know to break, or how far do we know to hold this to? Well, this was an 80 pip drop from here, right? So when it breaks above, this is what I was talking about with my retest, right? Shoots up. Y'all don't really believe me when I be talking about retest, huh? It came back right here. I wasn't kidding. And then it's not right there. But let's see. Let's see. 80 pips. Give you 100. Okay, so y'all should have been more than fine to get to 100 pips in there. Beautiful retest. I'm telling you, like, patterns for me are big, and especially the retest. If I miss a pattern, that is fine. My pretty little ass is gonna sit here and I'm gonna wait for my retest. And if I don't get a retest, then I ain't trading it. I mean, if it's an 80 pip move, 40 pips is better than nothing, you know? So I would just wait for some sort of like retest of any sort. But still, honestly, this was a really nice retest. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it came back, wicked it right here to give y'all your re-entry, and then it shot up, right? Patterns, guys, patterns. Triangles are some of my favorites, right? I don't know, maybe I just have an eye for them on UJ, but I always see triangles on UJ like all the time. I don't know, it just always works for me for some reason. Every time I try to trade triangle on here. That's how I fell in love with UJ, actually. I'm not gonna lie, because I used to hate this pair. And then I realized, like, wow, it's just really interesting. It forms a lot of patterns. Aside from the fact that it formed a head and shoulders right here, right? And this is a trend reversal, right? And it formed a triangle, right? I would have kept an eye out for a sell to begin with, right? Trending downward, reversal pattern. I'd want to keep an eye out for a sell. So, lower low, blah, blah, blah. Tested this high, got resisted, right? We want to wait for a breakout. Let's see. 93 worth of pips, right? This one didn't form, no re-entry or retest, right? But this how it took off right away. Did it give you 90 pips? Yes, it did. You guys are good, right? So there's the code as proof too, so you could rub it in my face. That not always will it give you re-entry, but if you like me, I ain't gonna, if I miss a move, I ain't gonna chase it, okay? So if it don't give me re-entry, I'm fine. I'll catch the next one. And if you guys catch this sell, then that's fine, because you gotta buy right after that, right? You got the same amount of pips, so you're good. H and S.
Yeah, that triangle that you just drew, the head and shoulders you just pointed out, and the symmetric.
Oh, that's what the H and S
shoulders, and there was a downtrending bullish rising wedge inside of there. Like, literally, that same triangle has a wedge in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
See it?
Telling you guys, I see them all. See? Y'all see this?
Does everybody see all three of those patterns all in the same, literally on the same little section of market that Jesse just drew up?
Head and shoulders, right? Formed a wedge.
Formed the wedge right here, and then the triangle he drew up physically. Everybody see all three of those? How are all three of those in combination are basically telling you sell, sell, sell?
So you better sold. Y'all should have sold from up here, if anything, too. I mean, but if you didn't, this was a perfectly good sell, too. And it broke support, so I would have sold. right? Why did this start forming upward? Let's see. I promise you, if you guys break this down to the smaller time frames, you will see a pattern being formed. I didn't understand this at first, but what was formed right here at this low that made UJ shoot up? Sometimes these markets be sneaky, right? Why the hell did it shoot out of nowhere? I just see a big old freaking block, right, on the 1 hour. Did you break it down on the smaller time frame to see the small little double bottom that formed right there that literally screwed your account up? Double bottom, boom, right? It formed it on the 5 minute, and it played everybody's life that was in a sell, including myself, right? I closed out, luckily, broke even. I was like, I'm not even touching it. Like, deuce, nigga. But it faked niggas out right here. It faked me out. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it tried to get me, but you're not catching me. I see these patterns. You're not messing with me. Patterns are key. This is what I've used to kind of figure out when trends are reversing, when trends are going to continue, right? So if you look at UJ on a larger time frame, I don't really see some sort of pattern forming. I don't see anything that's indicating, hey, I'm going to sell. As much as people are trying to sell it right now, do you guys see any double tops or head and shoulders right here? Do you see anything that would signify that? I could break this down into every time frame, even the 1 minute. I do not see anything that is indicating whatsoever that I'm going to sell this. So I ain't gonna touch it, right? I've never seen this kind of reversal. I'm okay. Do not do it unless you see a good indication, right? This might look like a random little blob or like the lines right here. I'm busy, don't call me. But yeah, just remember patterns, right? Does anyone have any questions at all? I mean, I really just wanted to show you guys patterns. Patterns are key. I love patterns. It's honestly where I've made a lot of money. Like 6-ish. Yeah, Arnie, I'm down. Even though you're on here. But yeah, does anyone have any patterns at all? Or patterns? Does anyone have any questions at all? Anything on the chat? Anything you want me to cover? Anything at all? Okay. AUD, JPY, sell order, right? So you can use patterns for any time frame. Yes. I would usually try to use it on a bigger time frame. So I'm going to show you guys how to analyze a signal, right? So I just got a signal sent to my phone. They're calling an AUD, JPY, sell, right? So if you guys are going to start taking signals, right, this is what I would look for. Are you going over entries tonight? Yeah. So example, like they're calling out a sell right now, right? This is what I do. Go on the daily. Is it respecting the trend? Yeah, you can say that, right? Try to base it off of the previous support and resistance. Let's see, where was previous support? Right here, right? Did it form under and break it? Yep. Okay. That's what I would look at on this time frame. 4 hour. Okay, I'm not gonna go into fibs because you guys are gonna be so scared. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Let's see. Where did I get 2 of these lines from? Okay. Let's see. This actually does look like a pattern to Lil Jesse. And you guys don't have to feel like you have to take other people's entries sometimes, okay? Like, I don't want you guys to think that at all. I know sometimes they're like, oh, I'd rather catch like the 20 pips. Well, would you guys rather, you know, make $1 or lose 20? Like, you want to be really careful when you're trading because it's like, dude, this is your money you're talking about. Like, if you just want to throw away money, just give it to me. I'll take it. I'll be more than glad to take your guys' money. Don't give it to the markets. I usually, if I am going to take somebody's entry or somebody's trade and I'm really unsure if I should do it, I usually base it off of previous levels of support, right? So I know that if price were to go ahead and break this level right here, I would think this would be a pretty good safe entry for me, right? if I didn't really trust the analysis overall, it is going on a sell longer term, so I feel a little bit safer, right? But even then, if I felt still a little bit more uneasy about this, like, damn, like, I don't know if I should really take this, I would base it off of the previous support, right? So I know that if price were to break the support right here, chances are it's going to come back and it's going to test this previous low right here, right? So either way, yeah, you're not catching all of this move right here, but you're playing it safe and you're catching these amount of pips. Either way, this alone is still a good 70 pip move. It's not that bad of a move, you know? So if they're calling out a sell, okay, look at the overall trend. If you still don't feel easy about it, try to see if you can see a pattern or anything that will confirm that what you're looking at. And if you still feel uneasy, base it off of previous support and resistance, right? If it breaks this level of support, what does this become now? Resistance, right? It'll probably come back and test the next level of support. That's what I would do, right? That's personally what I look for when I look for signals. In this case, I know the people that tend to signal, I like them. They're usually on point. This week they haven't really been as much, but still, I personally like their trades. But my point being, I usually just look at the overall trend, try to see a pattern, break it down. If you see it, you take it. Let's see if we could find anything else. This was a huge shoot up. I'd want to keep careful for this, you know. Price, unless this is trying to fake you out, usually price won't shoot up 54 pips unless you get some sort of stop hunt, you know, which more than likely it might be because, you know, overall, that's what the brokers do. Your entry could be, like I said, somewhere down here. You could place a buy stop, sell stop. Oh, let me go over that. Does everyone understand what buy stops are, sell stops, like buy limits, sell limits? Can you guys type a 111 if you do? Or if you guys want me to go over that, I can. Okay, so I'm glad you guys understand them. So what I would do, right, let's see where they're calling out their entries. 81085. Okay, let me draw a line right quick. Mm, 81075. Okay, so they already called out their sell right up here, right? So, okay. I mean, I personally see it, but still. Let's see where they're calling out their TPs. 80.800, 80.800. Okay, so they're calling out this big of a move. One thing I'll let you guys know is you guys need to do your research on this. This is called a shift in momentum, right? So shift in momentum, if you guys remember, is one shoot up in any direction, or one shoot in a specific direction. So in this example, price shoots up, followed by a shoot down, right? Usually with the shift in momentum, what you'll notice is that it'll come back and it'll usually come and test usually half of the zone minimum, sometimes the whole entire move in general, right? So I usually like a shift in momentum. This is telling the prices in the shift, right? You guys would have taken this, by the way. You guys be in profit right now from his sell entry. Who annotated on my thing? It must be Dakota. You guys would be in profit. I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with him. You guys would be in profit 4 pips. I'm about to remove y'all. Okay.
Remove annotations. Don't give them permission to annotate.
How do we do that? Oh, okay. I think I know how to do that. Okay, I did. Okay. But essentially, stupid. This thing is so hard to use. Essentially, what I would look for with this is, like I said, I look at a variety of things. I try to see the overall trend, right? If you want to trade along with the trend, if anybody's ever calling out a trade against the trend, that's the one I would be careful for. But this is following the overall trend. You got a beautiful shift in momentum, right? You got higher lows forming lower. I personally would like this. If you guys still feel uneasy, like I said, I would just ride this downward, right? So their TPs for this is, their entry was actually right here. TP1, right? Let me see what the other one was. Oh, and then they're calling the other one 60 pips below. So they're calling TP2 right about right here where I called out the second one, right? So they're literally just trading from support to resistance, right? Hey, that's what I would do. Chances are, if this does go ahead and break out though, this is a triangle, right? Price will probably end up shooting a lot further down, right? So they actually gave me a pretty good setup. One thing I would be careful with, actually, the Aussie is losing strength and then Japanese yen is gaining strength. So that is good to know. But still, I would look at all these different factors. I mean, I personally, this looks like a pretty good trade to me. Support, resistance, that's honestly all you need sometimes. Shift in momentum's gonna give you some shorter shoot, right? And just use a trailing stop loss, right? My stop loss for this, like we've always said, based off of previous highs and lows, I'd probably put my stop above, like right there. A little tight move, but it's a little bit safer. If you didn't feel good about that stop loss, I would probably use this high up here, right? Probably like about right there. Stop loss number 2. Just because sometimes brokers will stop hunt, you know? So sometimes they'll see that your stop is right here and so like, oh, screw it. Let's just make the market like mess you up and get your pips and get your money, you know? So if you're up here, sometimes the broker's a little bit too lazy. But yeah, this is what I would do to target a signal, right? I just redraw and try to see if I agree with what they're doing. And if I agree, I take it. And if I don't, I'm not rushing into a trade. Like, I'm not going to take this only because I already got enough growth, right? I don't need to keep on doubling accounts every night. I doubled 2 yesterday. I could take a little day off, you know? If it's not crystal clear, you know, this is a good trade, I would say, but it's just not the best of trades, I would say. Like, this isn't the best setup, I would say. I would be careful with it, but it is a pretty decent trade, right? Overall, I would like to trade the overall triangle, you know? Like, I would rather trade that in comparison to this small little move. But, I mean, if you guys did want to take this, just analyze it, make sure it looks good, and you're good, you know? But, yeah, analyze your trades. Does anyone have any questions? Anything you guys want me to cover at all? I don't know. You guys tell me. I mean, I pretty much wanted just to show you guys patterns in the market. Inverted head and shoulders, kind of. Anything at all? You guys want me to cover anything specifically? I don't know. I don't know what you guys need. Good stash. I understand everything. Oh, well, I'm glad, guys. That's what I'm here for.
About to say, if anything, we don't oversaturate them today. We already been on with them for about an hour and a half. We can always cover whatever they didn't get understood today when we do the next Zoom on Sunday.
Cool, cool.